Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my FXmovies.20 channel? Thank you so much. I am Rachel, the narrator of this story. It is quite embarrassing, however I feel compelled to disclose what transpired. This matter is profoundly personal, rendering it impossible for me to disclose it to anyone in my life. Nonetheless, perhaps recounting this narrative may serve as a form of catharsis for me. Last summer, my brother and his wife opted for a little weekend excursion and requested that I care for my nephew Ethan for a few days. Ethan, an intelligent 18-year-old, is typically enjoyable to be around, prompting my agreement to spend time with him. The first day passed entirely uneventfully. Ethan and I viewed films, engaged in games, and shared laughter. Yet I was unaware that the subsequent day would present one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. That morning, Ethan expressed his desire to go out, and I presumed he was meeting his friends, which pleased me as it afforded me some solitude. At times, one simply requires a modicum of personal space, does one not? Immediately after Ethan departed, I retreated to my bedroom to unwind. I perused social media for a while before opting to watch something to elevate my spirits. Everything appeared routine. It did not occur to me that Ethan might return prematurely. Yet, when the door abruptly swung open, the shock I experienced was ineffable. Ethan apprehended me in a moment for which I was entirely unprepared. "Rachel, I recognized that I had forgotten my keys," prompting my return, he stated. Nonetheless, the astonished expression in his eyes conveyed far more than his verbal communication. For a little moment, an uncomfortable quiet enveloped the room, and I prayed the ground would simply open up and consume me whole. "Ethan, why did you not knock on the door as I requested?" I attempted to rectify the problem, but Ethan merely gazed at me and, with a bashful demeanor, replied, "I'm sorry, Rachel. However, I believe I ought to remain here." As I attempted to comprehend the situation, I observed that Ethan appeared to be concealing something. "Ethan, disclose the truth," I implored, and at that instant, I comprehended that this situation was beyond a mere unpleasant incident. It encompassed something deeper. A peculiar expression lingered in Ethan's eyes. Was it embarrassment or something else entirely? I was unable to discern his impending statement. However, his refusal to exit the room intensified my discomfort. "What do you mean you must remain? Ethan, can you?" I inquired, my voice quavering. Ethan inhaled deeply and stated, "This may appear peculiar. This morning, while conversing with my buddies, I overheard some information regarding you." I was astonished at myself. "What did you do?" "Indeed, I believed there had been a mistake, yet someone mentioned they observed a video of you." My heart accelerated. "Which video are you referencing?" Ethan's visage became increasingly flushed. "I am unfamiliar with Rachel. My buddies merely referred." Once something unknown to me regarding its recording troubled me much, prompting me to return home as I did not wish to witness you in this state. His remarks impacted me profoundly. "Which video? What type of misunderstanding?" At that point, everything was perplexing. I experienced both anger and concern. If Ethan's assertions are accurate, this may pose a significant issue for me. "Ethan, if you are concealing anything, it is imperative that you disclose it immediately, as this might jeopardize both of us. Please clarify precisely what you know." Upon observing my assertive tone, Ethan hesitated briefly before retrieving his phone to display a video. However, he chose to pause it instead of playing it. "It may be preferable for you to refrain from considering this, Rachel. It is possible that someone has videotaped you, potentially with malicious intent." At that moment, I comprehended the magnitude of the situation and whether my privacy had indeed been compromised and disseminated as suggested. Ethan characterized the incident as spiraling out of control. I seated myself and endeavored to compose my thoughts. "Ethan, you must disclose everything immediately. We need to resolve this collaboratively," I stated. Ethan accepted and responded very well. "Rachel, however, we will not address this situation. It necessitates police involvement." My heart began to race even quicker. I was not only concerned for my own well-being but also for Ethan's. If we fail to communicate with the appropriate individuals, this situation may jeopardize both of our lives. However, I sensed that a more intricate narrative lay beneath the surface. At that moment, Ethan and I merely exchanged glances. The quiet between us intensified the gravity of the situation. I spoke in a composed tone. "WK, let us resolve this collaboratively. However, for the time being, refrain from disclosing this to anyone, even my brother. This matter must remain confidential between us. Understood?" Ethan acquiesced. "I have confidence in you, Rachel. I simply wish to prevent anyone from causing you harm." The sincerity in his voice resonated with me. Ethan, despite his youth, exhibited a level of maturity that revealed a new facet of his character. From that time forward, a transformation occurred in the relationship between Ethan and me. The events that transpired seemed to forge an unusual bond between us. Upon my brother and his wife's return, we endeavored to maintain a facade of normalcy. However, each time Ethan and I exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding lingered. I sensed the unspoken connection remained, and over time, Ethan began to contact me. He would frequently send messages such as, "Rachel, please inform me if there is an issue." Initially, I perceived his protective demeanor as a mere response to our shared experiences. However, as time progressed, I began to sense an inexplicable warmth. Ethan's concern for me transcended mere innocent worry, and more significantly, I developed feelings for him as well. One evening, my husband Thomas was away for work, leaving me home alone when I received another message from Ethan. "I need your assistance, Rachel. May I visit you?" I initially hesitated, although ultimately I could not refuse. Subsequently, I responded via text as Ethan entered, revealing a familiar expression of concern on his face. "Rachel, I must convey to you something," he said. I cannot cease contemplating the events of that day. I could perceive the quiver in his voice. Ethan was not attempting to conceal anything, he merely required an outlet for his emotions. "Ethan, we must progress beyond this," I asserted, despite my own skepticism regarding my statement. Ethan sat down and leaned in closer. "Rachel, you are such a special person. After everything, I've realized I feel safe when I'm with you. I need you." His words felt as though they destabilized me. In that moment, I recognized that the intimacy Ethan was offering was something I hadn't experienced in years, not even during my marriage to Thomas. Ethan's candor and unexpected maturity, despite his youth, drew me toward him. As I gazed at Ethan, I felt as though I was waging an internal conflict. My marriage to Thomas had become monotonous and uninspired. His incessant focus on work rendered me a stranger in my own home. However, in just a few weeks, Ethan seemed to comprehend me in ways Thomas never had. But what was the appropriate course of action? Were these emotions merely a byproduct of that challenging moment, or was there a genuine connection between us? That night, the conversation I had with Ethan remains indelibly imprinted in my memory. Everything he articulated, the emotions, his candor confronted me with a sensation I had not experienced in a considerable time. The feeling of being understood. My marriage to Thomas had devolved into a monotonous routine characterized by identical morning greetings and silent dinners. Yet in my dialogue with Ethan, I felt invigorated. Nonetheless, I recognized that this was inappropriate. Ethan was my nephew, and despite the considerable age disparity between us, our bond seemed to develop uncontrollably as time progressed. Ethan and I began to communicate more regularly through text messages and brief meetings. Each time he initiated contact, I was merely inquiring about his well-being. Although our discussions consistently delved into profound topics, during our conversations I felt at liberty to disclose everything I could not communicate to Thomas. The deficiencies in my marriage appeared to be compensated by Ethan's presence. One evening, Thomas informed me he would be working late, and at that moment my phone vibrated with a message from Ethan. "Rachel, may I see you? We need to discuss this matter." I did not hesitate. "Certainly, feel free to come over." Upon Ethan's arrival at the door, he bore a grave expression. "Rachel," he stated, "I recognize this may seem peculiar, but I cannot cease contemplating. Our conversations being in your presence evokes a distinct feeling within me." I gazed at him, and before I could articulate anything, I hesitated momentarily. "Ethan, I share the same sentiment," I said softly. "However, this is incorrect. Thomas is my spouse and you are my nephew. We must set aside these emotions." Ethan approached. "But why is Thomas not bringing you joy? I perceive it in your gaze. You merit companionship with an individual who appreciates your worth." Rachel's words penetrated my being. He rectified my wrath and disappointment. Thomas became a barrier that fortified my bond with Ethan. "Ethan, we cannot proceed with this," I stated, my voice quivering. "What we are experiencing is really a transient disorientation. I hold you in high regard, yet if we pursue this course, we will both suffer." Ethan inhaled deeply. "You are correct," he stated ultimately, "but I must convey this. Regardless of the circumstances, I will always be present for you. Understand that someone values you." After Ethan departed that night, I devoted considerable time contemplating how to address the deficiencies in my marriage with Thomas and establish boundaries regarding my relationship with Ethan. However, I recognized that it would not be a simple task to resolve in a single weekend. Thomas had taken a leave of absence from work. We both recognized that we had not spent significant time together recently, so we arranged a dinner. But despite our efforts, the emotional gulf between us remained unbridgeable. Throughout the meal, we adhered to superficial topics, steering clear of more profound discussions. Thomas was, as usual, engrossed in his phone, perusing business emails during his commute home. The automobile was enveloped in profound quiet. A profound constriction and an escalating void were stirring within me. I asked Thomas, "Can you pull over? I require some fresh air." He agreed and maneuvered the car to the roadside. Upon exiting the vehicle, I took several steps while attempting to inhale. Thomas persisted in scrolling through his phone in silence. At that moment, my phone vibrated with a message from Ethan. "Rachel, are you well? I have been contemplating your situation." My palm quivered as I said, "I am okay, although I believe I can no longer endure this. I cannot endure this void." The response arrived very immediately, "I am present. I am approaching you." Ethan's message elicited a rapid heartbeat. He arrived within 2 minutes. He observed Thomas in the vehicle but approached me directly without any hesitation. "Rachel, is everything satisfactory?" he inquired with a voice laden with anxiety. Thomas glanced up from his phone and inquired, "Ethan, what brings you here?" Ethan replied coldly, "This was a family supper." Nonetheless, Ethan resolutely stated that perhaps Rachel requires something more than that. At that time, I arrived at my breaking point. I had to decide between Thomas's perpetual disinterest and Ethan's attentiveness towards me. I could no longer remain silent. "Do you comprehend the extent to which you disregard me, Thomas? You are seated beside me, however it seems you are entirely oblivious to my presence." Thomas, astonished, said, "Rachel, this is not the appropriate moment for discussion." Nonetheless, his comments did not deter me. "The timing is inappropriate. I am familiar with this location, yet this situation has persisted for years and I can no longer endure it," I stated, my eyes brimming with tears. Ethan stood motionless beside me, yet the resolve in his gaze influenced me. "Rachel, if you wish to depart, I will accompany you," he stated gently. Thomas remained silent. He simply returned to his phone and commenced composing a message. This constant behavior instituted a pivotal moment. I approached Ethan and suggested we depart. As we entered the car, I was overwhelmed by intricate emotions. Ethan assumed control of the vehicle and operated it. Shortly thereafter, he halted, faced me, and inquired if I believed we were making the correct decision. I averted my gaze, yet upon looking at him, the words emerged, "I do not know, Ethan, but I felt compelled to alter something." Ethan grinned subtly and delicately rested his hand on my shoulder. At that instant, I realized my life would be irrevocably altered.